Well, I want to go over Rife technology. A lot of people don't know about Royal Rife and the Rife microscope. But first, I want to go over a little bit about the conspiracy side of the American Medical Association. And this comes from an unsigned article that's posted on Rumor Mill News. It's about the Flexner report. You've probably never heard of it. But I know people on YouTube are more privy and more attuned to conspiracy theories. But I do want to state there are conspiracies in the medical profession too. There is a lot of money rackets going on. But let's keep things in perspective, because it's, in other words, you can take things a little bit too far sometimes, because sometimes cure-alls don't exist. That's a lot of times nothing really is a cure-all. But the American Medical Association is driven by money, and it states in this article, because it's written by, I don't know who it's written by, but it's posted on a Rumor Mill News as an article written by somebody anonymously. So I'm going to use this as some kind of reference to get into what I'm going to be talking about with Royal Rife and his Rife machine. It basically goes in 1847, when the American Medical Association was established. Two founding pillars were: all doctors will have suitable education. That sounds great. An elevator standard requirements for a degree of MD should be adopted for all medical schools in the USA. So they had two open, goals, basically. Establish a monopoly for the purpose of increasing any of their physicians' income. That sounds like, if anybody, a lot of people don't like lawyers, they don't like doctors. That's why, because they're a ripoff, for what you get sometimes. But sometimes you need them, right? Using their influence in the government by enforcing this. Thus you have the Federal Drug Administration, right? It's not all bad, because it's like not everything alternative is good too, but it's a mixed bag. But basically, what they were doing, a lot of people, I put out articles on this before, I put out videos on this before about the Flexner report, and I probably should push them a little bit more, because I think they were very good as far as like why the medical establishment really came about in this country. It was from the financing of Rockefeller and Carnegie, especially the Carnegie Foundation. They basically led how things are going to be done in the medical establishment. In other words, they went from homeopathic medicine. It's not stating it in here, but basically, they're hinting at it. They're getting away from the actually saying it, getting away from the homeopaths, the pharmacists, midwives, nurses, and the chiropractors, to basically very formally trained medical professionals, and that's it. And they were very much limiting who can actually practice medicine, and also set much higher standards. But when they set higher standards, they went to the pharmaceutical model, which was basically who's controlled that, who controlled the drug industry for pharmaceutical. Rockefeller. Not stated in this article, but I'm stating it. Now, if you look this up on Wikipedia, you won't even hear this. You won't even see this. Now, this is kind of like something I'm using from Rumor Mill News that kind of states this. Goes on to say, to channelize any entrance into the medical profession, they wanted to minimize the number of approved medical schools, and further the number of students, also the number of students admitted to those educational facilities. Now, I'm leading up to something with Royal Rife, because this guy was really hammered out of the medical profession. So basically, they went through the Committee of 10, a working group of educators chaired by Charles William Eliot, then the president of Harvard. So the AMA created the Council on Medical Education in 1904, with the goal of shutting down more than half all the medical schools in existence. So they managed to close down 35 of the schools, basically, right? Now, enter this guy. Abraham Flexner. You'll hear this report. Hear this guy's name. Basically he changed medicine big time. He went, see, in the 1800s, I know they had snake oil salesmen, but actually it was John D. Rockefeller's father who was a snake oil salesman. You won't even hear that. He actually was selling some concoction that was bona fide garbage, and he made a lot of money off of it. But there was a lot of things where cannabis was used and a lot of different herbs were used, but they got away from that and they went to the pharmaceutical model due to the Flexner report. Abraham Flexner, he had nothing to do. Okay, well, it says it right here. He was a former owner of a bankrupt prep school who was neither a doctor nor a recognized authority on medical education. State medical boards used the report as a basis for closing 25 medical schools in 3 years and reducing the number of students by 50% at the remaining schools. That study was funded by Rockefeller and Carnegie. Flexner was John D. Rockefeller's stool pigeon in setting up the takeover of the entire medical school industry by the Carnegie Foundation. So when Bill Gates is doing stuff today with, vaccines and all this kind of garbage and genetically modified food, what's going on, Whenever you have a foundation to do something, there's always an ultimate goal. It's not all about charity. It's definitely not even any of it's about charity. So basically, they set up the entire medical school system by industry by the Carnegie Foundation, which was a Rockefeller Foundation subsidiary at that time. So there was established medicine had a heavy hand in the United States, even in the early 1900s, even before Royal Rife came on the scene. So I'm going to say this is Royal Rife, After Royal Rife. He was born in 1888, died in 1971. Actually, if I have this correct, I think he died broke. He didn't have any money. They were hitting him with so much garbage from all different ways. When his he did a couple big things though. One was the Rife microscope. It was a non-electronic type of microscope. So when you look through an electron microscope, you actually destroy the viruses and stuff because it's a lot stronger, but it'll destroy things when you're looking through it. That's my understanding of it. But he designed an optical microscope so you can actually observe the microbes, which actually doing their thing or whatever the hell it is. 'Cause I'm not a medical professional on this, but it's like actually this microscope, this Rife microscope, actually has some good applications today. And he's a genius. Basically, he was a genius, but he got together and with some other doctors at the time, and there was claims that, and it was like he was welcomed with this. He cured cancer with a frequency machine, but according to this in the Wikipedia, they say it could never be replicated. Now, there's some truth to this because a lot of people took Rife's work and they basically have destroyed a lot of his reputation in some ways because they twisted what he did and they lied about. They basically, Royal Rife hid those frequencies that he used to kill cancer. Nobody knows what they really were. You can get the machine. You could probably get the machine, maybe even as he did it. But the thing is, he does not, the frequencies that actually killed cancer, they're not known. They're not known. Nobody knows exactly what he did. And some people today are claiming they got some pretty good luck with this thing. But I just want to bring this up to light of people because in the future, I think, despite all the garbage they have with the medical profession sticking with pharmaceuticals, I think the future of medicine is going to be using electronic frequencies and electronic currents for healing. It's going to be used for speeding up healing and for killing pathogens. That's actually going to be the future. But the future actually is here right now in a primitive state. But this Wikipedia article goes on and states that Royal Rife's claims could not be independently replicated and were ultimately discredited by the medical profession in the 1950s. And I'm going to interject my opinion on this. He did cure cancer. They didn't like it. And I'll tell you why they didn't like it. It's like money. I'm stating that as as some people in the audience here or whatever it is might they might be attuned to that. But to give you an indication why that's to verify that statement, if you look at Dr. Otto Warburg of the famous Warburg family, he actually won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1931. He was put up for the Nobel Peace Prize dozens of times for his cancer work. He actually found that what cancer really was an anaerobic type. The cells are really just changed from oxygen breathing to anaerobic. So if you change the environment of the cancer cells, it destroys it. In other words, his work was extremely important too. But he used to get pissed off, basically, I'll put it in plain language, this is Dr. Otto Warburg, that they were funding all these BS studies that were, like he says, he considered were nonsense. And he said he basically found out what the problem with cancer was. It's the fact that a cell changes from aerobic to anaerobic. It changes its metabolism from oxygen breathing to non-oxygen breathing. Basically like what a fungus does, which like Tullio Simoncini says in Italy, who got in so much trouble for, curing people with baking soda, right? He did that so many times, or claimed to have done that. But his colleagues don't like that because, going back to square one in this other article, it's really about money. It's about money. Don't think for a minute the medical profession and the type of people that gravitate to this profession are not all about money. That's why I don't like them. I'll tell you the truth. I'm all about healing, but I just don't like doctors, because they're all about money. A lot of them are, unless they're coming from China. That's what it seems like to me, generally speaking. But it looks like, it actually states it, basically, it's stated here, establish a monopoly for the purpose of increasing any of their physicians' income, using their influence in the government for enforcing this. This is talking about in the 1800s. They were already planning on doing this. And they basically got the real kick to do that when the Flexner report was put out with the help of the Carnegie Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation. See what big money does. But I'm going to say this, though. I personally just bought this device. I got it on the way, and I might be producing some YouTube videos about it. I don't know what it's going to do. It's a Rife machine. Now, these things can run you for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, right? This is $400. So I decided to give it a shot, and actually I bought it right here. And I don't sell for them. It's from Pacific Health. And they have different machines, but this is basically what you'd have to do, the difference between this machine and the higher up machines. Well, the higher up machines go to higher frequencies, but this one's, I figured this is good enough for experimenting with, because it may not do, you're really not going to know all the frequencies out there you need to use, even though they're published. But for $400, I'm going to give it a try on different things and see whatever. But it's a manual type Rife machine. And I just want to make people aware, not that I sell for these people or anything, that Rife machines, there's some of them out there that are pretty affordable. And they got on this, I'm not, I don't want to be a commercial here or anything, because I'm not. They go up to $2,000, because this one is basically the same thing, but you can run 6 frequencies at a time. You can program it. So basically, you're guessing at the frequencies you need to use for a condition. So to give you an idea, they actually have a list of frequencies published out there. So, and it's almost kind of laughable, because you could say anthrax You know, I got anthrax. I picked up one of those envelopes from one of those Iranian terrorists, or maybe the government of the United States, depends on how you look at it, that was trying to make it look like an Iranian terrorist. And I got anthrax from this envelope, you know, because I'm working in the Senate building, right? So I get out my Rife machine, I put it on frequency 727, 787, and you use a few minutes each, I guess, and 880, and then you put it on 400,000, 3125, 900,000, and 7031, and I vibrated the anthrax microbe to oblivion. So that's the theory of it. You know, everything has its frequency where the microbe can get destroyed. Just like if an opera singer can destroy glass when they hit a certain note. That's the whole theory behind it. And that was the whole theory behind Royal Rife's machine. Now, Royal Rife, I said, actually invented the Rife microscope, which is the most powerful microscope optically before they came out with the electron microscope. And from my understanding is, it still has some good uses today because you can observe things better alive, you know, because you're not using electrons to look at something. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's my crude understanding of it. But at the time, it was the most powerful microscope going. So this guy is not stupid. So, if, you know, why would he just throw his old reputation out there if he created a scam? You know what the problem was? He was holding on to the frequencies that worked against cancer on the patients he used it against. And he went ahead and they basically held out, and the big boys ruined him. That's really what happened, in plain language. So the problem is, you know, even this $400 machine might be capable of doing things, but you know, it does have a list here, but you know, it's like it's almost laughable that you could think it would do all this. But you know, say for instance you have leukemia, you dial the machine on 2128, 2008, 880, you run all these frequencies right here, and you know, anything you want. You know, you got diabetes, depression, deafness. You know, somebody was asking me about deafness. I doubt this would work. I'm going to say that right now. I doubt this would work. But you know where I do think that the potential is in here that could be unlocked for a lot of different things. So I want to point this out to people that the price is affordable. I don't sell for these people or nothing. I'm just trying to say is I thought this was a good deal, and I'm buying it, and I'm probably going to put a YouTube video out on it using it with something and how it's used. But I don't work with these people. So, but I do want to point out the other part of it is the original medicine, which was all homeopathic before pharmaceutical chemical model came on in being. It was the Flexner report that killed it. The Flexner report was funded by Carnegie and Rockefeller foundations, right? Flexner was not a doctor. He was intelligent, but as far as a medical guy, he was an idiot. I'll put it that way. I mean, I don't know how to put it. I mean, he didn't have any medical training at all. I mean, he was about. I mean, I don't have medical training either. But I mean, I'm not telling the doctors what to do. You know, I'm just saying that they had a lot of body of knowledge of what worked in the herbal world, in the homeopathic world, for centuries. I mean, it's been like that from, you know, it's been in Chinese medicine, in American Indian medicine, in India's medicine, you know, in Greek medicine, Roman medicine, I don't know, South American medicine, Incas, Aztecs, or whatever. You know, it's like all of a sudden the big bucks, Rockefeller, said, you got to use our chemical medical formulas. Well, they don't like homeopathic, and the other thing is they don't like this with the frequencies. Because the problem is with this, well, I'm going to say though, I don't want to tell you that this thing works because you know, it probably does or probably has the potential of working. But, you know, if you actually look at this list like this, and you say earaches, dial, it might work. I don't know. I'm not going to knock it, but the thing is, it probably has some effect in some cases. It probably does. It probably does. But the thing is, the potential is there. If they spent 5% of their funding on this type of technology versus the chemical model, it would change the whole medical profession. But the thing is, you would take the medicine out of the hands of the doctors, because anybody could buy these devices, and you know what? That device is $400, say, right? I mean, if these are mass produced, every house would have one, and it would probably be $99, and it'd probably be just like the one that's $2,000 with all the programmable features, and you would actually know the actual frequencies that work on a lot of stuff. So they don't like that. They don't like that. And I'm saying is, the potential is there for this type of stuff to actually totally knock out the whole pharmaceutical medicine completely. All their revenue, all of it, flat out knock it down. Now the Beck protocol, the Dr. Robert Beck, he developed some good stuff with the Beck blood electrification. That's not the same thing as this. That's different. That actually, on a state right now, that works pretty damn good for a lot of stuff. Not as good as he hoped it would, but it's not bad. Well, let me put it this way: it's definitely worth the money. You can't beat it for the money, but you got to realize what the limitations are on it. If you got life-threatening diseases, don't try to Beck protocol and say it's a cure-all, because you might die. But you could do it and go take your meds or whatever, get your operation or whatever the hell it is. But this is the wave of the future, and I just want to put it out here because, if people want to try a Rife machine, I'm not selling for these people. I'm not making a commercial for them, but it sounds like I am. Go ahead and get it, because I am going to try this thing, and I think it's cool. Hey, you know what? I saw this list, and I said to myself, I know it can't do all this stuff. Nothing's that damn good, but it got me curious as to what it can do. So if I pick up an envelope with anthrax, or I got swine flu or something, hey, just dial in 413, 432, 663, 839, and 995. And by the way, this list is not put out by the people that make the device. This is from the Rife.org or something. It's like public information. So, but I'm going to say right now, that stuff you've seen in Star Trek, the spoof show from a long time ago, how they used to heal people. Well, they're going to be doing that in the future. I swear to God. Actually, that stuff with Rife, when he had this machine, like this machine, I'm going to give a demo on it when I get it in. You actually got to hold these things in your hand, and it's got the foot paddles with the stainless steel things. You put your feet on them. Rife had the plasma tube, and you didn't even have to be touching it. You could be around it, and he was curing cancer with it back in the 30s. I know it's like a rumor thing. It's one of. I know why he didn't give out the frequencies. You know what? To tell you the truth, if I was him, I wouldn't give out the frequencies either. This is what I would do. If I figured something out with this machine that worked, this is how I'd play it. I'd say, anybody want to come to get cured for something? I'm going to cure you. You don't pay me nothing. You put the money in an escrow. It's held by an escrow agent. After you get cured and it's proven by medical examination and test or whatever it is, then I get the money. That's the way I do it. So, anyway. And I'd probably say, it's consulting fees. So that's how I would work it. Anyway, to get around those bastards. And then I'd probably have to wire the money off to offshore account and BVI company, because there's no taxes over there, right? Remember how to work the deal.